Welcome to Roadtrip WDW. I'm your host, Rebecca Schlau. This is episode 13, and today we're going to go through our resort timeline. So essentially today, I'm just going to share all of the listeners' information about the different resorts that I have personally stayed at as an adult. And I make that distinction because I stayed at other resorts as a child, but I don't think I really appreciated them and took the time to explore them as well as I have as an adult. But to be fair, there's always a fair bit of nostalgia, and there's also these earlier memories of Disney World that are just ingrained in my head. So some of that will come across in my resort reviews. Let's dive right in. So the first Disney World resort I stayed at as an adult. So, well, technically I was an adult when I was 18, but let's say the first Disney World resort that I stayed at when I was a mom, I was in my late 20s, and I had an 18-month-year-old, and my in-laws booked the whole family a few nights at the Swan. Now, the Swan is a Disney World hotel, but it's technically not owned by Disney World. I never stayed at the Swan or its sister resort, the Dolphin. So keep in mind, these resorts are just right next door to each other. They're pretty much the same resort. They're separated by kind of a long pathway, courtyard area, but they share the same amenities. They share the pool, things like that. I don't have any personal stories about the Swan or Dolphin growing up, but I do always remember admiring the very large statues of the Swan and the dolphin fish way up high on top of this big hotel, and it was just magnificent. And I don't know, I mean, it wasn't Disney, but it felt like vacation. So even though it's not technically a Disney resort, it really felt like Disney when you saw them. Because keep in mind, you can see these big statues that are on top of the resorts from like miles away. Like that's usually like the first thing I see. Well, I may see Tower of Terror in the distance on my road trips, but a lot of times I'm also going to see the Swan or Dolphin, just the tops of those hotels. So these sorts of hotels are just ingrained in my mind. We never stayed at any of the Swan or Dolphin, and I don't really know why. I'm assuming back when I used to go, my parents probably got a better deal, because I think the Swan and Dolphin, especially back in the 80s, were always pretty nice. I don't know if they would ever classify as deluxe, but I think they were always nice, and I think we always got deals and discounts other places, and then we eventually just fell in love with certain actually Disney-owned resorts. So here we are in 2012, pull up to this grand hotel that I've always admired from a distance, which is a great location, by the way. Really close to Epcot, Hollywood Studios, walkable to either of those, or you could take a boat ride to either of those parks. So I already knew I liked the location of it, but I never explored the inside. So when you walk inside the Swan, you know, it's a decent lobby. It's nice. That's about the best I can come up with, though. It was a nice lobby and typical check-in. I think there may have been like a coffee cart that we looked at. There were a few little restaurants, but I had an 18-month-old baby, so I didn't really get to explore the lobby area or see what sort of fun things they had. I do recall there being some sort of fountains, and the little 2 18-month-old cousins would play together, and they seemed to have a good time, but nothing real elaborate about this one. We had a room that was pretty high up. I don't really recall the view. I'm sure it was fine. The room was fine. There was nothing bad about it. It was a nice hotel and a nice room. We only stayed there 2 nights, and just based on how chaotic things were going at the time, I didn't really use the hotel for anything else except sleeping, and that's where the baby napped, and at that point, we just didn't do much except we went to Magic Kingdom one day. That's the only park we went to out of our 2 nights there. So that next day we got out. But other than that, we just didn't take advantage of any of the amenities. Now, with a baby, I was still not 100% comfortable just getting the baby suited to go swimming. We'd already been swimming a lot on this vacation, and I think I was probably just exhausted the one chance we had to go swimming on arrival day, and I guess I just declined it because I never saw the pool. So, overall, my first impressions of the Swan were fine. Not amazing, not terrible. It was fine. It was a great location. And that's all I had to report. I mean, it seemed vacation-y, and I don't know how else to describe. The resort seemed vacation-y. It didn't necessarily seem Disney-ish, though. So it was kind of missing a little bit of the flair, like the Disney flair. But overall, it was fine. Before we headed to Magic Kingdom for the morning, we went to Garden Grove, which is a buffet-style restaurant there at the Swan, and it has character interactions. I'm pretty sure we saw Pluto, maybe Goofy. We had two of the big characters, but not Mickey or Minnie. So I'm pretty sure it was Pluto and Donald, Pluto and Goofy. Who knows? It was one of those. It was 2 of those. All I know is that I have a picture with Donald. I don't recall anything about the breakfast buffet. Again, as someone who has an 18-month-old, my whole priority at this point was just making sure she was okay. I believe she had a bit of a cold that morning and she woke up a little sick. And I think we were a little bit stressed because we had to run her to a clinic and get her a little inhaler, which was fine. It didn't take too long. Luckily, Disney has great medical care if you need it. But I don't remember anything about the buffet. I don't remember it being bad. I remember where the food was positioned, but I don't really have great thoughts to share or bad thoughts to share. I did really like the location of the restaurant. I liked that it was a character meal. I liked that it had options. So you have like a character meal breakfast, and I think at night it's just a regular buffet. So I think it was decent. I mean, now that I'm talking about it, you know what? We ate there twice. We sure did. I guess because buffets are easy with kids. And there was a lot of people. It was me and my husband and my 1-year-old. And it was just us, plus our my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, sisters-in-laws, brothers-in-laws. I mean, there was a whole pack of us. And that was all I remember about the Swan back then. I'm really glad that I've had some later experiences there at the Dolphin, which helped shape my overall opinion of these 2 hotels together, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. So that first year, 2011, it was my first experience having a baby at Disney World. Again, I grew up going to Disney World multiple times, not every summer, but for a while we almost went every summer. I have such fond memories of it. I mean, it was always a dream. I loved going to Disney World. I even went to Disney World on my senior trip, and I've always loved it. It just feels like home, kind of. It's just such a great feeling to be there, and it had been a super long time since I'd been back. So in 2011, me going as a parent, having my baby with me, it just made me fall in love with Disney World all over again in a little bit different way. Because after a day at the Magic Kingdom, I just left being completely caught off guard by the desire to come back. And the itch was so strong, it was hard to take. Like, I was devastated that we only had 2 days. It was like, wait. I'm so used to having a whole week of vacation, and now we just had 2 nights and just 1 park, and that's it. So I knew at that moment, after leaving the Swan, that I would be back, and I would be back a year later. And sure enough, vacation number 2 with my 2.5-year-old, and then also sweet baby 4-month-old girl came along, baby number 2. This time, I wanted to shake it up, and I really stretched myself because this was the first time we were actually going to pay ourselves to stay in a resort. Before, I'd always, lived off my parents or my mother-in-law just paid for our trip, but this was our first experience paying ourselves. So I wanted to be somewhere that was easy to stroll to from the Magic Kingdom and back, because I knew we had our double stroller, which was a beast, and I wanted to make it easy on us. However, I really could not afford those monorail resorts, which are the ones I really, really wanted. So like the Grand Floridian, the Polynesian, the Contemporary, those were so expensive. I mean, I think the cheapest room when I was looking was around $500 a night or so, and I knew I couldn't afford that. So I looked at other resorts that could give me a similar feel. Well, I happened upon the Wilderness Lodge. I'd never been to the Wilderness Lodge. I'm pretty sure I remember when it was being built, but I'd never been there. I read about it and researched it, and it turns out they do have a boat, like shuttle service. So you get on the boat and it takes you to Magic Kingdom. I was like, well, that's great, because then I can just stroll on to the boat. And this is a lot cheaper. I think we got a deal. It was somewhere around $350 a night at the Wilderness Lodge, which is a great deal. It really is. For a deluxe resort, that was a really good deal back in 2013. So I think at that point we really couldn't afford too much, and we may have stayed 3 nights, 4 nights. It really wasn't a long time, because we just didn't have the money to spend, $400 a night on a hotel. But I remember just being in love with the lobby. It's got this big, great entrance. It's like a big old log cabin. It's exactly what you would think of if you thought of like the old Smoky Mountains, like a big old hunting lodge, or something out in Colorado, a ski lodge. Like, it's all wooden. It's all cozy feeling. You walk in, it's just this grand lobby, and you can see multiple stories up in the air, and you see the big old fireplace. And right when you walk in, to the right, there was like this little area where we could have the kids sit and watch TV. Well, the baby couldn't. She was in the car seat. But my 2.5-year-old could just sit there and watch a little bit of Disney Channel cartoons while I checked in. And I remember everyone being so nice at the counter. And I had that Disney spirit. I felt so happy. And everyone there was happy. And it was amazing. The room, we just got the basic room. We did not get any sort of fancy room. We pretty much got the cheapest room that has ever been available at the Wilderness Lodge. We didn't get a good view or anything like that. We weren't supposed to. Well, we had this room. It did have a balcony, which was nice, but the room was really tight. It was a really tight fit. I mean, we did have a double stroller and a pack and play crib. So we had a lot of stuff just because we had a baby with us. But I remember the room feeling especially cramped, like smaller than most hotel rooms, it seemed like. But it was fine. It worked great. We had our older daughter, sleep in one of our beds. And then my husband and I, we didn't sleep in the same bed just because, these double beds really don't hold that much. And then our baby Martha, 4-month-old, was just asleep there in the middle between the beds in a pack and play. And it was fine. It worked out decent. It wasn't a lot of space, but truthfully, that wasn't too much less than what we expected. And it's not like we paid for a suite. We were pleasantly surprised that even though we did not pay anything extra for any sort of fireworks view, we were still actually able to see some of the fireworks over the trees that are going on at the Magic Kingdom, which made it especially magical for us. And I remember taking a few shots of that. I overall loved the resort. I loved walking around the grounds of this resort. This resort is beautiful. Even inside, if you go further deeper into the lobby, there's like a little creek with a little bridge, and for some reason that just made my 2-year-old go crazy. Kids and bridges, like little bitty, it was like a little kid bridge, kind of. But it was so cute, and they had this big open window in the back that just kind of looks over You would think it'd look over all these big mountains, but it just kind of looked over the pool area in the back. Kind of remind me if you ever seen Gone with the Wind, when Scarlett looks out one of those big windows and sees all of 12 Oaks having a barbecue. Anyway, back to Disney World. So I loved the Wilderness Lodge. I loved the pool. This was the first time we had taken our kid to a Disney pool. And it was so sweet because they had a kiddie pool. And I don't know, I guess I just didn't think that a kiddie pool would ever be useful for me. I never even paid attention to them really. And then here I am with 2 babies, and I was so thankful for just this little bitty standard rinky-dink kiddie pool. It was the best thing ever because I could have my 2-year-old splashing around, and I could kind of dip the baby in my lap. And I remember sitting by that pool for a few hours. We had the baby would sleep in the stroller with a little stroller fan and her little bonnet. It was really comfortable. It was a great pool. Now, my 2-year-old wasn't big enough to go down the little slide they had, but it was really cool. We saw like a geyser. They had pool snacks, pool bars. I will say I really, really liked their quick service, their little fast food location cafe. I thought the food there was surprisingly good. I remember one night being really hungry, and I ended up buying a cupcake for my daughter. And it was just like a white cupcake with white icing. It probably had some like confetti sprinkles or something like that. And typically I'm not a huge fan of Disney World cupcakes. I don't think they're as good as they could be. Like, honestly, my grocery store here, Harps, has the best cake. So I didn't really think anything of it, but I remember it being really good, and I was shocked. Also, this cafe, down at Wilderness Lodge, and I can't remember the name of it, and I think it has changed a little bit since then, but I remember it being open late, and it's small. Like, I've been to places with big food courts and things like that, but this was a really small fast food quick service location, but it had some really good food. I think it had like pizzas and burgers, but I think they had a good late night menu. So I remember it being close to midnight, and all of us stragglers that are coming back from the Magic Kingdom were just starving. And it was great. It was fantastic food. They have expanded, of course, the Wilderness Lodge in recent times, where there's more offerings, and there's Geyser Point, and they've changed up one of the signature dining restaurants to be a more of a character signature dining experience with Snow White. We did try a lunch down there at the Wilderness Lodge. There's this cute little restaurant, like right off the lobby. Like, you can see it from the lobby. You can see what's going on in there. It's called Whispering Canyon Cafe. We didn't know much about it then. We just knew it was a restaurant, and we just wanted to have some lunch. We did not realize that it was one of those restaurants that has a lot of quirks and hijinks, and they'll do fun stuff with you. I didn't actually know that until later in my Disney World research. In fact, for lunch, we were less than thrilled with the service. We didn't really get any of the fun hijinks that a lot of people report. I think my daughter, my 2-year-old, did get to participate in like a little horse race with like a little stick pony. I do remember the barbecue being really good, but also kind of expensive because we were kind of pushed. And I want to say gently pushed, but now that I'm thinking about it, no, we were very, very much pushed to get this platter that served all we could eat. It's not a buffet, but it served family style, so you get all this barbecue and you can have as much as you want. And that's pretty much what everyone got for lunch. That's what we were told. We didn't really realize we could just order straight from the menu. Or if we did, maybe we just wanted to splurge. But we ended up spending quite a bit of money on this big platter of barbecue. And truthfully, it was pretty good. I would be willing to eat there again. But we ended up paying a little bit more for lunch than we normally would have. But it was a nice experience. And I would check it out again. Especially now that I know it can be a lot more fun. I think our waiter that time was just a dud. But usually the waiters are really funny. And it's kind of like a show. They put on a show for you. And I would definitely recommend everyone check it out. I know people who don't even stay at the Wilderness Lodge, and they will come from miles away just to go eat at Whispering Canyon. Getting on to the ferry, the little boat that takes you over to Magic Kingdom, did not go as planned. I had envisioned that the boat would pull up and I'd be able to wheel my stroller right on, which we could, but we also had to collapse the stroller one time. There was one time they let us roll it on, but it seems like other times we had to collapse it because it was just too big and we needed to share our space. So there's no way to keep it open, and that was a big disappointment because that was one of the reasons why I wanted to stay at one of those Magic Kingdom resorts. However, because it was a boat and not a bus, it was easy to stroll on and then collapse there. Or it really wasn't that bad because we didn't have little steps to go up on like a bus with two kids in hand. We just had to kind of cross the little plank into the boat. So it was nicer. It still was easier. It really didn't bother me. I liked being out there on the dock. It was nice waiting for the boat. It's beautiful. I mean, it's so much nicer to wait on a dock, on the water, looking at your beautiful resort, looking over the trees, looking towards the other resorts. It is just beautiful. I love waiting at a dock as opposed to waiting for a bus. So the ferry service was fine. It seems like it ran like every 15 minutes or so. We never had to wait too long. I think one time it gets kind of hot just like everywhere. So I remember one time we had to lather up with sunscreen while we were on the dock because the sun was kind of just blaring down at us. But otherwise it was amazing. And it was really nice at the end of the night taking this little ferry across the Wilderness Lodge while everyone else is trying to get to a bus or a crowded monorail. We just simply went to the resort ferry and we got there quicker and it was easy. And again, the boat ride is a ride in itself. It's just beautiful being on the water. So it seemed like kind of like a ride. Like people would pay money to do this. And actually they do at some of the marinas. You can actually rent a boat, but it was really nice, and we thought all the cast members and the captains were super nice, super knowledgeable. Would definitely recommend staying at the Wilderness Lodge, taking advantage of all the unique dining experiences they have, admiring the beauty of this resort, soaking it all in. It's very Disney. You're not going to miss, like at the other resort, like at the Swan, I didn't really get that Disney feel. You get the Disney feel at Wilderness Lodge, but it's not tacky. It's not like over the top in your face. It's like the characters being carved in a totem pole. So it made it fit. It wasn't overdone, but it was definitely Disney, and I loved it. It was great. Highly recommend Wilderness Lodge. Now, this 2013 trip was just going to be it. This was going to be our few days at Disney, and then we were going to go visit the in-laws, and then we were going to go back home, and that was going to be it. But I'm telling y'all, the Disney World bug bites you hard. Like if you're someone like me who maybe have loved Disney World in the past, or maybe you didn't, but once you start going, it's like an addiction. And I tell you what, we went to Wilderness Lodge for 4 days, and I'll be darned if 4 or 5 days later, we came right on back to Disney World. So we'd planned to just stay like another week with my in-laws. But after several days with my in-laws and everyone else kind of had to work, we didn't really have much to do. My in-laws live near Tampa, Clearwater area, so about an hour and a half away from Disney World. So it really wasn't that far, but I remember thinking, man, I wish our last few nights of vacation were actually at Disney World. And the longer that one thought kept pulsating in my mind, the more I was just driven by my addiction to Disney World to just tell my husband, like, look, I love hanging out with your family, but I need to go back to Disney. I need to end this trip, this long awaited for vacation, with a bang. And so my husband and I got on TripAdvisor and started researching Disney hotels and what would be cheap, because again, we'd kind of spent a lot of our money already on the Wilderness Lodge. It was very expensive for us at the time, so we were looking for something cheap close by. Now, we weren't as diehard stay on property fans as we are now, if we were just adding on a few days. But this was before they had Fast Pass Plus. This is back then when they had paper fast passes that you could get for the park. So there wasn't as much planning or strategies when you went into the Magic Kingdom, into Epcot or one of the other theme parks. You didn't get an opportunity to plan your fast passes in advance. So we weren't really bothered by, oh my God, we got to stay on property. We really just wanted to stay somewhere cheap nearby. And this is when my life changes and we see the Dolphin. Now, remember, the Dolphin is the sister hotel to the Swan. And we saw the Dolphin for, I'm not kidding, it was $69 a night. The Dolphin typically runs $200, $300 a night. So we found it for $70 a night. We didn't know that was that good of a deal then. We knew that was cheap, but we didn't even realize how great of a deal that was now that we're actually big fans of the Dolphin. So we book it. We still have to pay quite a bit in parking and resort fees. So our per night stay was probably closer to $15 a night. So it wasn't as cheap as we thought it was going to be, because they get you. And a lot of these resort hotels, they do get you with the resort fees. You book it at one price. They tack on another $30, $40, which you signed on. You just didn't read that fine print. They also make you pay if you are bringing your minivan or any other vehicle, which we always do. So we always have a parking fee that we have to pay every single night. But that being said, okay, so we say, all right, we're going to do 2 nights at the Dolphin. And I'm not really expecting much. I'd already checked out the Swan. They're sister hotels. I think they're probably about the same in my mind. I never explored it. I'm assuming it's going to be the exact same thing. So I arrive kind of late, like a Friday evening. We're not going to do anything. The kids are already asleep in the car. And then I walk in the lobby and things change for me. I look up and I first see like this ceiling, like it's a fiber optic ceiling, like in this foyer area. And it's like shooting stars are just shooting across the ceiling. And it's obviously, fake fiber optic stars. But it was just so sweet. And it was late at night. And the smell, that aroma, that lush green tea something smell. It smelled so just floral and clean. It was such a nice smell. And then I walk further in and the whole lobby just opens up into this massive kind of circular area, which is completely different than the Swan. I mean, this is a lobby. I mean, it had shops and restaurants and bars. I mean, this lobby was fully loaded. And so I thought the reception area was nicer. The whole hotel lobby and gift shops and like a dress shop, and there's like a whole hall of restaurants behind the main lobby too. I mean, it was just spectacular. And they had this beautiful water feature, this beautiful fountain in the middle, and it felt so fancy. I mean, not fancy in a bad way, just like, holy moly, this is a grand hotel. Like, this is great. So we took the kids into the room, and much to our surprise, it was a much bigger room than we were used to at the Wilderness Lodge. Now, this was, I think, a standard room. They may have given us a little bit of an upgrade, but the size of the room itself was a standard room size, which was bigger than some of the other hotels. Now, this hotel, I believe it was built in the 80s, I think. But I think back then they made rooms with a little bit more square footage. So I think that reflected that. The room that we were in, I don't know if it had been updated recently, but we didn't really have any problems with the room decor. It was very comfortable. We actually had this little walkout patio thing too, which was nice because the Dolphin, it's like on this little body of water. So it overlooks Crescent Lake around all the other Epcot resorts, but it also has its own little lake, like a man-made pond, and it has these little coves. And so a lot of the hotel rooms have their own little balcony and their own little patio and kind of on the water. So if you're trying to like walk, you're having to like walk around big old shady inlets of water, and it's beautiful because there's ducks and you can see turtles. So already we were just starting off these last 2 nights of Walt Disney World with a bang. That next morning, I remember we didn't explore anything, but we did go to Magic Kingdom and had a great time. We came back to the resort around noon or lunchtime, which, if you've been listening, you know I recommend coming back to the resort for lunch. Take a midday break. So we came back for our midday break. I believe I was probably still breastfeeding or pumping, and my husband and the baby, the 4-month-old, fell asleep for their nap. And so I took my older daughter, who was 2.5 at the time, on a little adventure, and we just walked around the resort. And this was my first time to actually see some of the sights and really check out all the restaurants. And I saw that they had a spa, and we had planned on going swimming, and we couldn't really find the path to the pool. We actually went the really long way. We went out this back patio area, and we ended up walking all the way across the pathway to the Swan and then over to the pool, which we should have just gone downstairs and headed to the pool that way, but we didn't really know, and it was fun because we were just exploring. It started to rain, so we weren't able to swim, but we did take a few pictures outside, and we saw those big beautiful fountains that we saw on top of the roof of the Swan and Dolphin. They also have some other fountains outside that are just nice to look at. I took her to a little quick service fast food spot, it kind of seemed like a little cafeteria down there at the bottom. It was by an arcade and by a spot to do your laundry. And we just had a little snack. I think we had some chips and salsa, maybe an apple. And it was just a cute little adventure for her and I. And we just walked around and explored. We didn't really do anything that exciting, but it was great. And it really gave me this excitement towards the Swan and Dolphin. Now, there was so much to do at these resorts that we didn't get a chance to do then, because we only had two nights, and there's no way to do it all. We didn't even get to go explore the boardwalk or walk around there. Our time was very short, and so we left with really great memories and a very good taste in my mouth for the Dolphin. This comes into play later. In 2014, our Disney World vacation took us to the Art of Animation. And this is a brand new resort in my eyes, because growing up, we did not have this resort. So I really didn't know what to expect. We could not really afford one of those family suites at the time with our 2 kids. So we got a Little Mermaid room. Now, this resort is a value resort, so it's kind of the value category. It's going to be cheaper than a lot of the other resorts. And my kids were getting a little bit older, so they weren't like babies, and they were starting to get into characters. They were starting to actually recognize and enjoy Disney movies. So the Art of Animation just seemed like a perfect choice, because a lot of the movies that they were watching at the time happened to be featured at the resort. So we got a Little Mermaid room, which was perfect. It was adorable. It was over the top Disney World class theming. It was all Little Mermaid. It was adorable. We really liked it. Now, the Little Mermaid rooms are more like a motel. So your rooms the door to your rooms are located on the outside. So you don't go in a building and get into your rooms. They're all located on the outside. It didn't really bother us. We loved the huge figures of Ursula and King Trident. The grounds of this resort are so much fun to walk around. And you'll see that there's a lot of people that come from other resorts just to walk around Art of Animation because it's beautiful. There's just so many characters to look at, and chances are your kid's going to love it too because you can get pictures. It's kind of like a meet and greet almost with some of these characters that are just out there. Big old, I don't know, fiberglass, whatever they are. But they're really interesting to look at, and it's really neat. Once you walk into Art of Animation, it's a very big open lobby. Everyone's really friendly. After you get checked in, there's a few different things that you could do. You could go to the arcade. You could go to the gift shop. Sometimes they have drawing classes going on right then and there. Several times we've been through, they are dancing, like they're having line dances, and all the cast members are getting involved, and they're hooping and hollering. Everyone's having such a great time. It's a big resort with a lot of people, so you will notice that's a little more crowded. Feels a little more crowded, but it's fine because it's big. They have an amazing food court. I have yet to see a Disney World food court match the Art of Animation. The food options are spectacular, anywhere from pasta, pizza, Asian, sushi, you name it, they got it. It is all different types of food under one roof. All the drinks, ice creams, anything that you can imagine is there. It's a wonderful food court, so much fun, always going to be something for everyone. They also have a huge pool that's supposed to be the biggest pool on property. It's the big blue pool. It's themed after Finding Nemo. By the pool, they have a Finding Nemo style splash pad, which was great because my 1-year-old had, she wasn't swimming yet, but she loved splashing around that splash pad, and it was a lot of fun. My other daughter also loves splashing around. There are a few other pools. There was one pool that was closer to us, the Little Mermaid pool, and we did take advantage of that. We did go swimming a few times, but for most of our pool needs, we just walked a little bit further on down to the Finding Nemo pool because it was more exciting. There were things going on. There's games that are being played. There's a lot more people. There's also a bar right by it. It's also a great place to do your laundry. So like there is the little laundromat area kind of by the pool. So if you're going down the pool, you can swing by the laundromat, throw your clothes in, stay by the pool, and on your way back up, just grab your clothes. The Art of Animation has just so much to offer, especially for kids. I just adore this resort. It is adorable. And it's a value, so it's cheaper. So those Little Mermaid rooms I'm talking about, now that's the only branch of the building that has the cheap rooms. I mean, when I say cheap, I mean it was still like $125 a night or maybe even up to $150. But by Disney standards, that's actually really good. And it was totally worth it, 100%. The other wings of the building are more like moderate or deluxe prices because they are family suites. This means you will have 2 bedrooms areas and 2 bathrooms. It's not a full 2 bedrooms. It's like 1 master bedroom with 1 master bathroom with a living area with a couch bed and another little dining area with a pull-down Murphy bed. But it has that advantage of having another bathroom. We couldn't afford that at that point, but we would have loved to. But we loved this resort so much that we decided that we're going to up our game the next year, and this next year in 2015, I believe, we wanted to save our money to actually get one of those family suites at Art of Animation, specifically the Lion King suites. And oh my goodness, was that an upgrade. I was totally fine with those Little Mermaid rooms, I really was, but once you get a family suite and have all that space and 2 full bathrooms, oh, it was incredible. In fact, the bathroom area was so big that we actually put our 2-year-old's crib in there, her little portable crib, her pack and play. So that second bathroom kind of became her bedroom at night. We do what we can, y'all. We got to get some sleep somehow. We love these Lion King suites. We love the decor. We love how it's themed to Lion King. We loved when we looked outside, you could see like Mufasa on Pride Rock. And while they don't have a playground, they do have like these little cave areas, a little boneyard with really, really big bones, which looks like a mammoth style bones, and you see some of the hyenas, and you can kind of walk through it. So it kind of feels fun to play in. It's not an actual playground, but it is kind of soft and squishy on the bottom. So if your kids were running and they fell, they wouldn't get too hurt. But we really enjoyed Art of Animation at this point. We took advantage of the pool several times. If you go underwater in this pool, you can hear music playing. We just love the splashy area. The food court stood out again as being amazing. Please check out Art Animation if you're on a budget and you need a value resort. I would definitely go for the Little Mermaid room. If you got a little bit more to spend and you need the space, please check out one of the family suites. They have three different versions of the family suite. They have the Lion King, Finding Nemo, and the Cars. The Lion King rooms are the only ones that don't actually have their own pool designated to the Lion King rooms. That did not bother us at all because we were so close to the Finding Nemo pool. We didn't miss it because that's the big pool we wanted to go to anyway. So we had a little bit further of a walk. The Finding Nemo suites are a tad pricier than the other ones because they are closer to the pool and closer to Disney transportation. On the other side of the resort, there's the Cars family suites, which is, you guess what? It's themed after Cars. And let me tell you, just walking through that Cars area is really cool because you see life-size versions of all those Cars characters like Mater. And it's really cool because you can get your picture with them. I mean, this is like a character meet and greet for sure. Really cool. Highly recommend Art of Animation. I'd love to go back one day. Fast forward to June of 2016, and here we are back at Disney World. You'll notice that we have progressed with our hotels. We have gone from things that are free to kind of a cheaper, deluxe and moderate in value, and now you're going to start seeing a trend. This next trip we had planned to stay at the Contemporary at kind of a nice room, a garden wing room, but we were able to leave early, and so we were able to get to Disney World a few days early. Now, I didn't have $1,000 extra bucks to spend on a few extra days, so guess where I tacked on those few extra days in the front of our trip? If you guessed the Dolphin, then you would be correct. So here I am with a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and we are going to the Dolphin, and we get there and it's just as magical as I remembered. It's actually better because now my kids are older and we can actually do more things. It's just so great when your kids reach an age where I'm not saying they entertain themselves, but they're just able to do more, and they're able to express their wishes and their likes and dislikes. It's great, but it's also a curse at times. But we were able to check out some of the amenities of the Dolphin, and I guess technically the Swan, that we hadn't been able to before. So we finally checked out the pool, and from our last few visits, we still had not checked out the pool. The pool at the Dolphin is amazing. It's got all these different little cove areas of the pool, a big main pool with a big old waterfall, and you can go under that waterfall. I mean, it's pretty intense water pressure going under it, but you can kind of go under it, kind of like a little cave, kind of grotto area, and you can actually put your stuff under there. There's actually several different seating arrangements under that grotto waterfall area. There's also a cute little slide, and it's one of those slides where they do allow your kids to wear their puddle jumpers or their life jackets. And if you didn't have a puddle jumper or a life jacket, then you could go rent one there at the little kiosk, and it's for free if you're staying there. You just have to give your room card or something like that. We were able to play a little bit on the playground. The Swan and Dolphin has a great playground. They have a volleyball court. They have little splashy areas. I really enjoyed the hot tubs. They have a few hot tubs there, which are fantastic because they're in the shade. It's not like you're sitting there in the sun and you're just sitting there in a hot tub. No, they put those hot tubs way back in the shade, and it is very nice, very relaxing. The whole pool area kind of gives me a spa vibe. It just seems really, really nice, kind of fancy, but comfortable. super great. There is lifeguards on duties. There's all sorts of different things you could also do in that area. We did not take advantage of some of the other amenities. That comes later. But once again, we had a very successful stay at the Dolphin. We just tacked on those few extra days. We did take advantage of our location this time finally. We were able to explore the boardwalk a little bit more. And every time I stay at the Dolphin, I look across the pond, and my eye gravitates towards the Yacht and Beach Club. Yacht and Beach Club is a really nice resort. It's a deluxe resort. It's one that I have very, very fond memories of when I was younger, a young teenager. We had so much fun at the yacht club. At this point in my life, it was still not as feasible in my budget and for what we wanted. Like, it's getting closer to something we could afford, but still not quite there. But I keep imagining and envisioning myself one day staying at the boardwalk, staying at the yacht club. Now, we do explore the boardwalk area because it's right by the Dolphin. So at night, they have like nighttime entertainment. So just walk from the Swan or Dolphin over to boardwalk. They have night entertainers. The lights are beautiful in this area. You could also walk to Epcot if you wanted to. But another successful stay at the Dolphin comes to a close. And then we pick up our reservation at the Contemporary. I never really envisioned myself staying at the Contemporary, I'm going to be honest. And I don't know what it was about the Contemporary. Maybe that it was just more modern style, and that's just really not me. I'm more like cozy and country and French country and classic. I'm more down like that. But Contemporary is sleek and modern. It just never really piqued my interest. The reason why we ended up picking Contemporary is because we had family members that wanted to come, and they kind of wanted to stay at the Contemporary. I, too, wanted to stay somewhere close to the Magic Kingdom because that big old double stroller I keep mentioning is a beast. And I really would love to go to the Magic Kingdom without having to drive my minivan, because at some point we just hated buses and we just always drove to the parks. So by staying at the Contemporary, we literally walk over. It is the only resort on Disney World property that you can walk to the Magic Kingdom. You can just walk right over there. It was perfect. That was such a wonderful advantage. You never had to worry about the crowds trying to get onto the monorail or your buses. Nope. You just walked on out the front and you walked right to your hotel, and it was amazing. This was the greatest perk of the Contemporary, and I wouldn't mind staying there again. Again, the decor isn't ideal. I did really enjoy our room. We did not have a room in the main A-frame building. Now, Contemporary, for those who don't know, Contemporary is like an A-frame style hotel, and the monorail runs right in the middle of it. So it's really cool because you get to look down and see people eating and shopping in the little concourse area. And so I'd kind of envisioned that's where we would stay. But it turns out it costs a little bit more money to stay in the main hotel part. So we stayed in a garden wing, which was right outside the main frame. We decided to get like a little bit of an upgrade to our room. We decided to get more of a king deluxe room or something. So it didn't have an extra bedroom, but it did have more space. We didn't really know what to expect, but boy, our room was amazing. It was huge. It had tons of space. We had 2 little patio areas. We ended up getting on the first floor, and it was amazing. We were first floor. They have locks on the patios, which is amazing. They have locks like up top. So I was so freaked out at the idea, oh my God, my kid's going to get out. I'm really worried about patios or sliding glass doors, or someone's going to get in, someone's going to get out. Like, I was kind of freaked out about that, but no worries. They have double lock system. There is a lock up top, so your kid's not going to be able to get out or unlock that door. I love sitting out at the Contemporary in the morning on our little patio overlooking the lake. I can't remember. I think it's Bay Lake or something. I don't know. Overlooking the lake. Just is beautiful. The ducks came right to our patio. I wasn't a huge fan of the pool. Now, I did have a slide, so I did like the slide, but it wasn't anything special. It was just a pool. I mean, they did have a little kiddie splash area, but it was nothing compared to Art of Animation. We also were able to access the DVC member area at Bay Lake Towers, which is right off the Contemporary. It's kind of Contemporary's Disney Vacation Club space. Now, DVC is just like a timeshare company, and you can rent the points, and Disney will let you stay there too if they have openings. And so my family stayed in one of those bigger rooms there, and they had a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, maybe 2.5 bath suite, and it was nice. It was really not big, full kitchen. I mean, I'm pretty sure they paid close to $2,000 a night for it, but it was between, split between 2 families, and you have all these amenities. And keep in mind, it's a deluxe resort. You're going to pay a lot. You're not going to pay, less than $500 a night to stay at one of these monorail resorts. So as I'm going through the rest of my review, keep that in mind. Like this, it is expensive. There's no way around it. So we really enjoyed our room. But the Contemporary just doesn't have that feel for me. Well, you know what? Maybe parts of it did. I really liked their food court area. It wasn't really a food court. It was just a little quick service fast food restaurant area. I liked that. I also liked Chef Mickey's, which is a character breakfast, lunch and dinner spot, and it's a buffet, and they have the big main Fab 5 characters, and Mickey, Minnie, all of them. They are there for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's pretty pricey, but it's one of those reservations that people just fight over. They love to eat at Chef Mickey's. There's a few other really notable restaurants there that I hear really good reviews. There's another just regular dining spot called The Wave. There's also the real nice and a little fancy spot called California Grill, which I hear is spectacular. I'd love to try it. I just don't want to bring my kids because it is a little nicer. It is a little pricier. And with my kids just wanting chicken strips, it just doesn't really seem like the right spot for me. However, I hear they do have a brunch on Sunday, and I hear it's fantastic. So I loved that the Contemporary did have lots of food options. I loved the accessibility to Magic Kingdom. It's a great resort. I love it. Not my first choice. And if someone let me stay there again, I would definitely go. But it's not my first choice. And in 2017, y'all, something happened that hasn't happened in a long time. We had to skip Disney World one summer. But we had a really good reason. We had my baby boy, and we just didn't want to do Disney World with 3 kids, especially one being an infant that summer. So we had to forego our trip, but that just meant our 2018 trip was going to be off the chain, spectacular, bells and whistles. We were going to make it a big trip, a mega trip. And that's exactly what we did. If you're still following along with me, this is where I'm going to go ahead and sign off for the podcast now. We're just going to have to make a part 2. I've already been talking for almost an hour. I really think this is probably one of my most boring episodes. It's exciting for me to relive the hotel images in my brain, but I can only imagine as a listener, it's probably not as grand, maybe getting a little bit tedious. But I have a lot more to say about our next hotel stay because it's the one most fresh in my mind. I actually started to take detailed notes of tips and tricks for our next hotel stay, and that's when the podcast idea started, kind of floating around the head. And so I'm going to talk more about that for our next episode, for part 2. For any of those who want to follow along on Facebook for our podcast, check us out at Roadtrip Cast on Facebook. We also have an email address. I never know it. My husband always does. It's like Roadtrip Cast at something. I don't know. Just look on the Facebook page. That's where we have everything listed. Also, if you are a Branson fan or planning to travel to Branson, Missouri anytime soon, feel free to check out my Branson podcast. That's Road Trip Branson. It's pretty much the same. Really, it's the same stuff. It's just a different town, so it's a little bit different. I really appreciate y'all for checking it out. Feel free to drop us a line, give us some feedback, give me some information, say hi. And on that note, I will say my goodbyes. Catch y'all next time.